So when you go into the office on a Monday morning, you log into the platform, you see a list of incidents, effectively. How do you prioritize those? Well, XDR does that for you, effectively. It gives you a priority score. Now, that priority score is based on two different factors: detection risk and asset value. So the detection risk is where it maps it to the MITRE TTPs and says, okay, well, according to MITRE, what's the financial risk here? And how many different MITRE TTPs is it aligned to? That is given a score, 0 to 100. And we then have an asset value. So you can predefine the assets in your environment, different scores, effectively. So my laptop, 1. A business critical file server in your data center, we'd want to classify that as 10 because it's business critical. We then multiply asset value by detection risk, and that's where we get our priority score. So, if you've got 1,000, you want to action that first when you come in. So I'm going to run through a quick demo. And it is quick, don't worry, it's just a kind of high level because I want to get across the usability here. So anybody familiar with SecureX, they'll be very familiar with this piece. So when you come in, different teams within the organization are going to want to have different data in front of them when they go in. So you can customize the control center dashboard. So any of your integrated products, you can just jump into and say, okay, well, what interesting alerts do I want to take from each of those and present to the users when they come in, start their working day, okay? The most informational part, really, where you're going to spend most of your time, incidents. So this is where we come in, and we look at those prioritization scores. It shows you all the new incidents. What's the status of those? Are they newly seen? Have they been assigned to any specific individual within the organization? Or are they new? Do they need to be actioned? So I jumped down to one here because I know it's got lots of associated observables. A suspected malicious URL on an individual IP address. Give it a click, and it gives you that high-level overview of that incident. It shows you the associated MITRE TTPs. As you can see here, this one's assigned to initial access. It gives you the priority score, so it shows you the detection risk against the asset value that we discussed. It shows you a short description of the event and a long description. We can dive down into this one a little bit more. It shows you where this was seen, date, timestamp, more information about the potential event, okay? It also shows you all of the associated assets. Now, this isn't just saying malicious URL or infected host. It shows you how all the different assets and all the different observables have communicated. So once we jump down into the investigation a little bit more, it kind of expands on this for you. Visual representation, we'll go into that a little bit more in a second, but effectively it shows you all the different associated assets, so all the different hosts, all the different observables. Now, like I said before, this isn't just malicious. This is suspect or potentially newly seen, and then it gives us the indications. So what we then do is jump into investigate, and this is where we can go really granular. This is where we can break it down. This is where your SOC analysts are going to want to spend their time. So it can show you all the different sources of telemetry, and obviously if you want to look at one specific one, it's just radial tick boxes. And it shows you how different elements within that investigation have communicated. It shows you all the different events, and we can go very, very granular on this. So if you want to carry out an investigation on a specific time frame, we've just got a timeline down the bottom here that you can adjust to see with specific events in a specific time. So if you want to map a specific user that you think may have carried out malicious activity in a certain time window, this is where you can do that within the dashboard. And then you can revert. And as I've done here, I want to know more about those malicious events. So we just adjust the timeline. We can see the associated malicious file hashes. And you can, it can group them together for you as well. So once we know we've got an incident, we can carry out investigation, but we want to carry out actions. So again, we can see the detection stages here, what observables were seen by what products and when. We can filter it down on the severity. There's 82 events there. We may only want to see the important ones. It drops it down to 36 for us. So we can filter through the wider information and focus on what's important, okay? Once we've done that, what do we want our response actions to be? Well, we want to run through identification, we want to contain, we want to eradicate the threat, and then we want to run through recovery. This is designed to take your level 1 or 2 NOC analysts and turn them into a level 1 SOC analyst. So it will walk them through the process of how to handle this incident. As we can see here, identify infected hosts walkthroughs. Now what we've got here is automation. So as you can see on the right-hand side there, we can add notes to each different element, or we can execute. So this has got a built-in workflow in this example. When you hit execute, that's going to generate a ticket for you in whatever your ticketing platform is. Any notes you then add will then be transposed into that ticketing system. But what do we want our containment actions to be? This example I gave obviously included malicious file hashes. So I've got an execute there, and I can go up and I can select not all file hashes. I want to select the malicious ones. I hit execute, but the platform's basically saying, through all my integrations, isolate any of those file hashes. Don't care if that's in the firewall, in the endpoint, wherever it may be, those specific file hashes contain them. Then we go to eradication. How do I remove that threat? And it's effectively the same process. So you just go through, hit execute, and it will go out to the different platforms that you've integrated, and it will remove those file hashes. Recovery stages, have I verified that those have then been removed? Yep. Close the incident down. Simple as. Another point I wanted to show, assets. So because we're ingesting telemetry from your entire security estate, it gives us a huge amount of visibility into the different endpoints that are connected. As you can see here, I've got a load of managed, and I've got unmanaged. So if I select managed, for example, you can see here different operating systems versions, the users that have been seen on those as well, and it will show you the different sources. So again, like we saw in the incidents tab, one click gives you kind of a high-level overview. You can delve down into that for more granularity. Okay, so as we can see here, it shows you the different solutions that are deployed on that. We may have secure client, Defender. It might be Intune, for example. We can pull all that information into one place. So that's something that customers have said is very, very valuable to them. Final thing to cover, integrations. There's an awful lot of Cisco native integrations in there. If you want to stand up a proof of concept of anything, you can do it via the dashboard. But this is all the third-party ones as well. So there's, out of the box, a huge amount of third-party integrations. You can run, there's an awful lot of kind of open source codes out there as well for third parties. And the very last point I wanted to cover is, it's not official, but it's how I think you will probably see the platform enhanced. On Tuesday, Cisco finalized the acquisition of Splunk. Now, when I said before, the difference between a SIEM and an XDR was a SIEM is a data repository, and you can ask it questions, and it can give you that historical piece. XDR doesn't have a data repository yet. My feeling would be that's probably going to be the natural kind of progression of the Cisco XDR platform, is that Cisco will integrate that data repository capability into XDR. So it will give you that point-in-time analysis, but you will also be able to go back over time. And this is probably going to be part of that AI piece. Historically, what do my trends look like? Also, how many read-write API integrations are there into Splunk? Massive amounts. So that effectively is going to give the capability to integrate with pretty much anything. I'm 2 seconds over, so that's my piece finished. Rich, I'm going to hand back over to you. Thank you everybody very much.